The night air in Hollow Creek carried the scent of wet earth and pine, heavy after an autumn rain. Sheriff Daniel Price hadn't set foot on the abandoned Miller property in years, not since the night it all went wrong. The night his K-9 partner, Ghost, vanished during a botched search. 6 years had passed, but the whispers never did. People still spoke of strange sounds in those woods, of eyes glowing where no animal should be. And now, standing on that overgrown path with his hand on his revolver, Daniel felt the weight of unfinished business pressing hard against his chest. If you find the story gripping, consider supporting it. Your quiet encouragement helps me keep crafting more like it. The woods weren't the same after dusk. Hollow Creek was one of those small, fading towns where rumors clung longer than the morning fog, and Daniel Price knew those woods better than anyone. Yet the Miller property felt cursed. Its sagging barn, its crooked farmhouse swallowed by vines, and the pond where lanterns sometimes reflected without a source. He adjusted the beam of his flashlight and kept walking, boots crunching over damp leaves. Behind him, Deputy Claire Avery muttered, "6 years, Sheriff. You sure you're ready for this?" Daniel didn't answer at first. He'd buried the question deep under work, under whiskey, under silence. But it was Claire who dragged it out tonight. "I never was," he said finally. His voice was low, worn thin like the edges of old paper. "They were here because of a call. A local teenager, Ethan Wallace, had gone missing 3 days ago. His bike was found propped near the trailhead, the front wheel slowly spinning as if abandoned mid-ride. Every lead pulled them back to the Miller woods, the same woods where Ghost had vanished." Daniel's grip tightened around the flashlight. He remembered Ghost's bark that night, urgent, frantic, echoing into the dark, and then silence. Claire's voice broke the memory. "Sheriff, you okay?" He gave her a sharp nod. "Keep your eyes open." The farmhouse rose from the fog like a drowned thing clawing back to the surface. Windows shattered. Porch collapsed. Yet the air around it felt alive, humming as though it held its breath. Daniel scanned the clearing. The beam of light cut across the barn doors, half open, groaning in the breeze. Then came the sound. A bark. Low, sharp, unmistakable. Daniel froze. His throat tightened in disbelief. Claire stiffened beside him. "Was that?" He didn't let her finish. He stormed toward the barn, every step heavier than the last. His mind screamed it wasn't possible, that he'd seen Ghost die, or at least vanish into nothingness. But his gut twisted with something else. Hope? Fear? Both. Inside, the barn smelled of mildew and rot. Hay bales collapsed into themselves. Rusted tools dangled like forgotten weapons. Another bark, closer now, vibrating through the wooden beams. "Ghost," Daniel whispered. The name slipped out like a prayer. The beam of his flashlight caught movement, a flash of white fur darting behind the shadows. His chest caved in, breath catching. 6 years. 6 years, and here he was. But then the cold hit him. Not a draft, not the chill of damp air. It was sharper, deeper, pressing into his bones. Claire whispered, "Sheriff, something's wrong." Daniel stepped forward, heart hammering. "Ghost!" A figure emerged. It was Ghost, or what was left of him. His German shepherd stood in the pale light, for streaked with dirt and blood, one ear torn, eyes glimmering with something not of this world. He didn't pant. He didn't blink. He only stared, head cocked, as though waiting for a command that never came. Daniel stumbled back, bile rising in his throat. "Oh, God!" The barn groaned louder. Chains rattled, though none moved. Claire swore under her breath, gun trembling in her hand. Then Ghost barked again, sharp and commanding. The sound cut through the silence like a blade, shaking dust from the rafters. He turned, limping toward the far corner of the barn, and stopped before a wall of rotted boards. He barked again, this time deeper, more insistent. Claire whispered, "What the hell is happening?" Daniel's hands trembled, but instinct overruled fear. He dropped to his knees, pushing aside loose boards, clawing through damp wood and soil. His flashlight beam caught something beneath, metal. A latch. He pulled. The ground yawned open with a hollow creak, revealing a staircase descending into blackness. From below came the faintest sound. Not echoes, Not wind. A human sob. Claire's voice broke. Jesus Christ. Sheriff, there's someone down there. Daniel's pulse roared in his ears. Ghost stood above the hole, unmoving, his glowing eyes locked on Daniel, as if demanding he descend. 6 years ago, Daniel lost his partner to these woods. Tonight, Ghost had returned, not to haunt him, but to lead him. But to what? The first step moaned under Daniel's weight, the sound loud as a gunshot in the suffocating dark. He aimed his flashlight downward, but the beam seemed swallowed by the blackness curling up from the hidden cellar. Claire hovered the opening, her voice taut with fear. Sheriff, we don't know how stable that thing is. Daniel didn't answer. His hand was tight on the revolver at his hip, his other gripping the flashlight as if it were a lifeline. He had been down hundreds of staircases in his career. Crack houses, storm shelters, basements where bad men had worse things, but never one like this. The air thickened the deeper he went. Damp, metallic. Beneath it all, the faint rot of something once alive. Claire followed, her boots clunking behind him. She tried to sound steady, but her breath betrayed her. What if it's another dead end? Kids mess around here all the time. Kids don't leave sobs in the dark. Daniel cut in low and sharp. When the staircase finally ended, they stood in a corridor carved crudely into the earth. Wooden beams held the ceiling, some rotting, others cracked. Nails jutted out like teeth. The sobbing had stopped. Daniel whispered, "Hello?" His voice carried too far, bouncing down the tunnel like it belonged to someone else. Silence. Ghost appeared. Not as sound this time, but as light, a pale shimmer in the corridor, like moonlight trapped in a shape. His tail gave one slow wag. Then he turned and padded deeper. Claire gripped Daniel's arm. "That's not real, Sheriff. Tell that to the boards we just tore up." He pulled free and followed. The corridor bent into a low chamber. The flashlight swept over rusted chains dangling from beams, over filthy blankets piled in corners, over buckets that hadn't been emptied in days. The stench rose with every step. Claire gagged and pressed her sleeve over her mouth. Jesus. Then a sound, a whimper. Daniel swung the light toward a far corner. A girl crouched there, knees tucked to her chest, face streaked with dirt and tears. She squinted against the sudden light. "Easy," Daniel said, his voice softer now. "You're safe. My name's Sheriff Price." The girl didn't move. She clutched something tight against her chest, an old stuffed rabbit, its ears gnawed down to stubs. Claire lowered her gun, her voice breaking. "Sheriff, that's—" Daniel knew before she said it. "Emma Wallace," he finished. "Ethan's sister. She'd been missing for 6 years. Presumed dead." Daniel's pulse thundered in his ears. Emma was supposed to be gone. Her case the wound that never healed, the reason he could never forgive himself for losing Ghost. But here she was, alive. Emma's lips moved. Her voice was hoarse, broken. "Don't let him hear you." Claire crouched slowly. "Who, sweetheart? Who are you talking about?" Emma's eyes darted to the tunnel behind them. Her small frame trembled violently. "He comes at night. He feeds us when he wants. He hurts us when we scream." Claire's face blanched. She turned to Daniel. "Us? Sheriff." She said us. Daniel swept the flashlight across the chamber again. Behind a pile of collapsed wood, another figure shifted. A boy. Then another. Small faces, pale, blinking into the light, like creatures dragged out of caves. 3 of them. 3 children who should have been buried years ago. Claire gasped, hand over her mouth. "My God! Daniel, they're—" "Alive," he whispered. His chest caved under the weight of the word. "They're alive." Ghost stood in the corner, silent, watching. Daniel moved closer to Emma. "Listen to me. Whoever kept you here, he's not going to hurt you anymore. I swear it." But Emma shook her head violently. "You don't know him. You can't stop him." The flashlight beam trembled in Daniel's hand. "Who is he?" Before she could answer, a sound rolled through the tunnel. A heavy clang of metal on stone. Someone was closing a door. Claire's voice was a hiss. "Sheriff, someone just locked us in." They moved fast, ushering the kids toward the stairwell. The air grew colder, pressing down like water filling a tank. Daniel reached the steps first. The wooden door above them was shut, the latch hammered down from the outside. He slammed his shoulder against it. Once, twice, again. It didn't budge. Behind him, the children whimpered. Claire whispered fiercely. He knew we'd come. He knew. The metallic scrape echoed again, closer this time. Footsteps. Deliberate. Heavy. Daniel drew his revolver, hand steady despite the storm in his chest. Stay behind me. The tunnel swallowed the sound for a beat. Then, from the darkness, a voice. Low. Calm. Too calm. You should have stayed out of my woods. Claire raised her gun. Show yourself. The flashlight caught movement. A figure stepped into view. A man in his late 50s, hair matted, eyes burning with a strange intensity. His clothes were filthy, but his posture was straight, almost military. In his hands, he held a hunting rifle. Emma whimpered, clutching the rabbit tighter. Daniel kept his revolver trained. Drop it. The man smiled faintly. 6 years, Sheriff. 6 years, and not once did you look close enough. You let me build this. You let me keep them. Claire's voice cracked. You sick bastard. He ignored her, eyes locked on Daniel. I admired you, you know. Always chasing shadows. Always barking orders. But dogs know better. His smile widened. Yours almost ruined everything. Daniel's stomach dropped. You killed Ghost. The man shook his head slowly. No, I tried, but he was loyal to you, even in death. Ghost's shape shimmered brighter at the far end of the tunnel, his growl rumbling low, echoing through walls that had no right to carry sound. The man's smile faltered. For the first time, fear crossed his eyes. Daniel took the chance. He fired. The shot cracked like thunder, slamming into the beam above the man. Dirt rained down. The children screamed. Claire cursed, firing too. The man vanished back into the tunnel, his footsteps pounding away. Move! Daniel barked, scooping him up in his arms. Claire, take the others. They charged deeper into the tunnels, Ghost's pale glow leading them through turns Daniel hadn't seen before. Corridors branched like veins, the walls tightening until they scraped shoulders. Claire shouted behind him, Where the hell are we going? Daniel's answer came only as he turned the final corner. Ghost stopped at another set of stairs, these one stone, leading upward to a hatch. Daniel shoved it open. Cold night air spilled down like salvation. They emerged into the edge of the woods, far from the farmhouse. The children coughed, blinking at the stars like they'd never seen them. Claire collapsed to her knees, chest heaving. Daniel set Emma down gently. You're safe now. But her eyes remained fixed on the woods. Her voice was barely a whisper. No one's safe. He has more places, more children. Daniel felt the ground tilt beneath him. What? She met his gaze, trembling. This isn't the only one. He said the others are hidden all around Hollow Creek. The words hit like a gunshot. Ghost stood at the tree line, staring into the black expanse of forest. His form flickered, then steadied, tail still, eyes unblinking. Daniel understood. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The woods of Hollow Creek never felt darker. The night pressed in thick and damp, muffling the cries of the children huddled under Claire's jacket. Daniel stood a few paces away, his revolver still drawn, scanning the tree line where Ghost's pale form flickered like a lantern in fog. Claire's voice cracked. Sheriff, we need to get them out. Hospital. Safety. Daniel shook his head. His pulse was still roaring from the confrontation below, but his mind was already moving. If we leave now, he disappears. He's lived in these woods for years without being found. He'll do it again. Claire's face twisted in disbelief. Are you hearing yourself? We have children. They come first. Emma tugged at Daniel's sleeve. Her dirt-streaked eyes carried the weight of 6 stolen years. He won't stop, Sheriff. He said the woods are his. He said no one leaves unless he says so. Daniel looked at her, then back at Ghost. The shepherd stood rigid, ears pricked, gaze locked deeper into the trees. Waiting. Claire hissed, Don't do this. Not again. You're letting him pull you in the same way he pulled you 6 years ago. And we both know how that ended. Daniel met her eyes. 6 years ago, I ignored Ghost's warning. I'm not making that mistake twice. The words cut deep between them, reopening an old wound. Claire's lips pressed tight. You blame me for that night, don't you? For losing him. He froze. The silence that followed was louder than any accusation. Claire's eyes glistened. Say it. You've thought it all this time, that if I hadn't called you back, Ghost would still be alive. Daniel's throat tightened. He wanted to deny it, to ease the guilt written across her face. But truth lingered too heavy between them. Ghost barked once sharp, pulling him back. The sound vibrated through the trees. Daniel holstered his revolver. Get them to safety, Claire. This ends tonight. He followed Ghost. The forest grew denser, branches clawing at his clothes, the ground sucking at his boots. Ghost's glow weaved ahead, slipping between trees, always just far enough to force Daniel forward. The silence of the woods was wrong. No crickets, no owls, just his own ragged breath and the whisper of leaves. Then another sound, whistling, low, tuneless, carried on the wind like a child's lullaby, but fractured, eerie. Daniel slowed, crouching low. His hand hovered over his revolver. The whistling grew louder, then stopped. A voice followed. You shouldn't have come alone. Daniel's jaw tightened. Step out. From behind an oak, the man emerged, the same grizzled figure from the tunnels, rifle slung casually over his shoulder. His calmness was worse than rage. Daniel raised his gun. Drop it. The man's eyes glinted. You're pointing the wrong way. Daniel frowned. What? The man tilted his head. You think I built all this alone? 6 years, Sheriff. Someone had to help me. Someone had to look the other way. Daniel's stomach twisted. What are you saying? The man smirked. Check your deputy. The words hit like a hammer. Images collided in his mind. Claire's hesitation, her insistence on leaving, the night 6 years ago when she called him back before Ghost vanished. No, Daniel muttered, but the seed of doubt was already rooted. The man chuckled darkly. She's clever, I'll give her that. She kept me hidden, fed me information. You were always too blinded by trust to see it. Daniel's grip tightened on the revolver. You're lying. But were they lies? Or truths he had buried because he couldn't bear to face them? Ghost appeared beside him, growling low, hackles raised. The man shrugged. Believe what you want. Either way, she'll lead them back to me. Before Daniel could react, the man lunged into brush, disappearing like smoke. A rifle shot cracked, splintering bark inches from Daniel's head. He dove behind a tree, firing back. The forest erupted in chaos. Gunshots, ricochets, the thud of boots. Ghost darted ahead, weaving through shadows. Daniel followed, adrenaline scorching through his veins. The chase ended at the pond behind the Miller property, its surface slick with moonlight. The man stood on the far bank, rifle aimed, breathing hard but steady. Daniel stepped out, revolver raised. It's over. The man barked a laugh. Over? Sheriff, this was never about ending. This is about legacy. His finger curled on the trigger. Before the shot could fire, Ghost lunged. His spectral form slammed into the man, knocking him sideways. The rifle discharged wild, the shot echoing into the trees. Daniel sprinted forward, tackled the man hard into the mud. They grappled, fists, elbows, teeth. Daniel's rage was feral, years of guilt and loss pouring out. Finally, with a brutal strike at his revolvers, but the man went limp. Daniel stood over him, chest heaving, hands slick with blood and mud. Ghost stood a few feet away, tail still, eyes locked on him. For the first time, Daniel whispered, "Good boy." By the time backup arrived, the man was bound, dragged away cursing into squad cars. Paramedics loaded the children, their frail bodies wrapped in blankets. Claire returned with them, her face pale, eyes avoiding Daniel's. He approached, words caught in his throat. The man's accusation still burned. Claire, she flinched. Don't. Not now. But Daniel pressed. Tell me it isn't true. Her eyes finally met his. A storm raged in them. I never helped him, but I knew. Daniel's breath left him. You what? Tears cut tracks through the dirt on her face. 6 years ago, I found things. Signs someone was using the Miller property. I didn't tell you. I thought if I ignored it, if I buried it, it would stay quiet. And when Ghost went missing, I couldn't face what I'd done. The betrayal sliced deeper than any knife. Daniel staggered back, voice raw. You let this happen. Her voice cracked. I was scared. I thought I could protect the town by keeping the peace. I was wrong. Silence stretched between them, heavier than the night itself. Ghost barked once, sharp. Both turned. The shepherd's form shimmered brighter than ever, his body outlined in white fire. He stood at the tree line, tail wagging slow, proud. Then he turned to Daniel, eyes soft, ears perked like he had when waiting for a command. Daniel's chest tightened. He whispered, Rest, partner. You've done enough. Ghost gave one last bark and faded. The forest grew still. Weeks later, Hollow Creek tried to heal. The children were in hospitals, recovering. The Miller property was torn down, the tunnels filled, the town too shaken to speak of it. Daniel stood at Ghost's grave behind his cabin, the morning fog curling low. He set a fresh collar on the headstone, the one Ghost had worn the night he vanished. Claire approached quietly, hands in her pockets. They want my resignation. Daniel didn't look at her. What do you want? She exhaled shakily. Forgiveness. He turned, eyes hollow. I don't know if I can give you that. Tears welled again, but she nodded. Then I'll carry it. She left him there. Daniel crouched, resting his hand on the stone. I'm sorry, boy, for not listening, for not trusting you. The wind stirred, cool and soft. And for just a moment, faint as breath, he heard it, Ghost's bark, distant but content. Daniel smiled through the ache in his chest. The woods would never be clean. The scars would never fade. But for the first time in 6 years, he felt something close to peace. And peace in Hollow Creek was its own kind of miracle